This year and on this International Women's Day, we start the journey towards electing Tami Sawyer as the first Black woman mayor of the city of Memphis.
We knew that this was going to be one of the hardest things any of us had ever done.
Y'all can do it, but we're just not going to be here to escort y'all.
I'm unfortunated, but I'm just as strong as I was in 1991.
Mayoral candidate is in the hot seat after a series of offensive tweets she posted a decade ago have resurfaced.
This just cannot be what Memphis gets to choose between. A mayor who had resigned under an Alfred plea, and then a white mayor who is a Democrat in name only.
I wish there was joy, you know, but I've got to get it together because people need to see me strong.
We're ready, let's go.
This forward-facing collaborative movement for progress and change is here, Memphis. And we are here to say that we cannot and will not wait any longer for our city to open its doors and embrace us and embrace the change that we deserve.
Thank you, Memphis.
She's almost too big for Memphis, to the point that the pushback can be debilitating.
Oh.
Hey, sorry about that.
No problem.
Oh, good. You're here now.
Very nice to meet you. I'm Adam. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks for interviewing us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Logistical question. How long does this run?
2.5 hours. No. Well, we could do this in 15 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been on already for a little while. So we actually, I can take a little bit of what we were talking about maybe, and we can plug your podcast, Lauren, right?
Sure. That sounds great.
Sounds like
Tami has a podcast too. And it's way better than mine.
Oh, it's not a competition.
No, it's not, because I haven't recorded in like forever.
We were just talking about how Adam's doing this regularly and he's, keeping it up, but that like it's so hard when it's not something that you make time for.
When you're busy or just...
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you there are times where you just are more enthusiastic than other times about it's more than just the recording. Maybe it's also the whole, putting it together, post-production, and then promoting it. It's a lot of work,
It is.
Tami, when did you do that podcast, or when did you start it? Was it related to your political work, your career?
It's called Black Steel Magnolia, and a play on one of my favorite movies, Steel Magnolia.
Yep.
And it's also what I call the women in my family, like my mom and my grandmother, they're like the women in Steel Magnolia. And it's also a play on kind of my continuous quest for the reclamation of Black identity in Southern culture. We're Southern too. And I'm often inserting Blackness into this very monolithic ideal of what Southern means. And so the podcast is just imagine that last sentence for 30 minutes.
That's a really good way to describe it.
Are you, so you prepare something in your mind to talk about, or is it more scripted, or are you actually inviting people on and having conversations, or all the above?
It's not scripted. I do make a draft of what I'm going to talk about so that I don't ramble for 30 minutes. But sometimes I decide that morning what I'm going to talk about. I recorded frequently this summer during the racial unrest that was happening across the country. And just kind of almost journaling in an audio way how it was feeling for me and for others. I started bringing folks on the last few episodes, kind of to provide a diversity of thought. I didn't want it to just be, the Tami Sawyer show. And I have my little brother who is, I don't know, today he thinks he's a communist. Last week he was a socialist. I can't keep up, but he is raging against the machine. And I, was like, I don't think people understand what communism and socialism is. We're taught to fear these words. What's your understanding of it? And so brought him on to talk about it. Meanwhile, he thinks I'm like softer, I'm more center than Elizabeth Warren. So he had a huge argument on that, about that, things like that. I brought on one of my best friends who lives in Africa now, and how it has been as a woman raised in the States, as a Black woman, watching what's happening in the country from overseas. So we've had that conversation. And then I'm going to do a live event on Election Day.
Oh, smart. That makes a lot of sense. It'd be interesting to see you reacting just you actually won't get any results, so
yeah,
that's the thing.
But we'll react to not getting results.
Still react. It'll just be.
I think that's even you'll still get the. I think we'll still get. I might be overly optimistic, and I'm not that necessary. And believe me, I think Lauren and I were just talking before about being very not fatalistic about it, but be expect. It's one of those things where, despite what you may hope, expect the worst. Don't get too yourself worked up. However, I think that probably what we'll see is a lot of prognosticating that night about who the winner is, regardless, and hopefully it'll turn out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely like hopefully by January 15th we know person.
I'm a little more optimistic, but that's just me. I guess I was so shocked in 2016 that I don't know what to expect. I think we all were.
Right. Well, that definitely taught everybody a lesson about taking anything for granted ever again.
Right.
Ever again.
Ever. Yeah. Vote.
Well, I cover festivals as a big part of my podcast, especially now. I felt really festivals, not only independent films, but festivals themselves are in such danger this, right now, as is exhibition of films in general. So my show has always been about championing films like Lauren's and filmmakers like Lauren and I think it's crucial right now. So I've always been wanting to come to the Indie Memphis and to be a guest there, etc. But it hasn't happened. But I thought, let me do this, and as one component of doing that was to, definitely bring on people from Memphis, filmmakers from Memphis, and subject matter films that deal with the subjects of Memphis. And this is as much as you can get.
It's so true. As we say, it's Memphis AF.
It is. A Memphis story.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad. So thank you for agreeing to do this again. And I of course have tons of questions about, how much, well, first of all, you can talk, of course, about how you guys did connect. I know that Lauren, you came down as an NBC affiliate, part of the NBC affiliate. You moved to Memphis. I know, Tami, you've been at least a community leader and worker for, now, of course, you're the commissioner of the county. So what brought your paths together, and how did you agree to letting somebody make a documentary about running? That's very brave for anybody.
Well, it was very brave. And I'll start, Tami. I knew Tami when I was a journalist. I just knew her as a source, or, calling her up for things, but right. I didn't have a relationship with her. And I met her in 2017, 2018, around there, when she was running for commission. She came to me and said, I want to do a campaign that looks different. I want a campaign video that tells a story, doesn't just like talk at people. I said, I got you. Let's do this documentary style. So we met through that. And of course, Tami won that election. And that started a friendship. And so when she came to me and said, I'm going to run for mayor, we can't wait. That's where we got the name. That's where the whole campaign. I said, all right. So we were already doing some campaign videos for Tami that looked a lot different than anything you saw out there. They stood out. They really did. And I'm not just saying that to like flex. They were just different. And I should tell you that I don't do campaigns. So Tami's like this unique situation where I don't like getting in that arena. But I felt very strongly about this. And I watched a Street Fight, the documentary about Cory Booker's first election, where he lost, and then Knock Down the House or Bringing Down the House. I can never remember. The one about AOC. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think it is called Knocking Down the...
It's Knocking Down.
Knocking Down the House. So I saw both of those in a matter of a week, and I texted Tami and said, I've got a great idea. I think we need to follow your campaign more aggressively than just campaign videos. So we had a meeting, and we talked through it, and she said yes. Surprisingly, I was thrilled. But I had to say, hey, you got to let us capture the good and the bad.
Right.
Even when you want us to turn the camera off, we got to keep it on. So I don't know. What was that like for you, Tami?
Yeah. Well, I just want to, and I'm going to guess, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I sort of don't doubt, I doubt I have to even say that, but it's more about the message. So the outcome, yes, of course, you want to win this race, and you feel you're the right person to be mayor of Memphis, but I have to imagine your campaign's message was even bigger and more important to you.
Absolutely. I mean, Adam, I didn't know if we were going to win or not, right? So you don't see us in there like, we've got this, I'm the baddest thing coming. It's like, if we're going to do anything, we're going to shake up the status quo. And I mean, what we did learn, and I've been fighting the status quo in Memphis for a long time. And it was different though, trying to take the highest seat in the city. And so they showed us what they were working with, and they were stronger than I thought. But the message, we can't wait, was because I knew that going into this race, and it's quoted in the trailer, as my campaign manager says, the two main candidates before we announced, were both over 60 years old school in their politics, not various responses to social justice and progressive politics, but both very hands-off with any type of talks of reform in education, reform in policing, reform period, very centered on money and economics, but not economic equity. And so for me, I said, how is this going to be one of the most important elections of our time? And this is what we're left with. Someone has to run who's willing to challenge them. And no one was going to file to run against them because of fear. And so I said, well, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to run. And we're going to run on this like super fucking progressive platform. I'm sorry, super progressive platform. And, take hits at the establishment every chance we get. And win or not, I mean, to Lauren's one, we didn't win, but to Lauren's point, the announcement video, they played the entire announcement video on the news. We got so much free publicity from changing the way politics was oriented, right? Mm-hmm. That like the mayor was upset. Like, like, why do you keep playing her videos on the news? That's free. Right. And they were like, it's different.
Yeah, it was
They're
different,
talking
for sure.
about something.
It told a story, and it didn't just tell a manufactured story, and that's sort of translated right directly into the documentary, because nothing about it was manufactured or staged or set up. And I think that foundation was set from the beginning to be a little different. Tami's disrupting her space, and we're disrupting this space by doing it in this way. So there's a lot of parallels there with how the stories are told.
Also, the race was in 2019, right? So this is coming off of this huge sea change in 2018. There were so many surprises with candidates who won who were maybe, the same generation as you, Tami, right?
I was super inspired by
all of a
those
sudden women of color are winning these major races in major cities. So I think maybe they thought possibly that, oh, this is a very newsworthy moment.
And it sure was.
You're not running for Congress, but you're running for mayor.
Right.
And I was inspired by those 18 races. I won commission in 18, but in the November, and I won in the summer of 18. But I mean, Stacey Abrams, I mean, was watching her election results like in tears. I mean, even Andrew Gillum and Mike Espy, all of these folks who ran in November 2018, for federal seats and statewide seats really inspired me. And it was actually Stacey Abrams speaking at a TED Talk in December of 18 after she lost, where she said, I knew that I had to do this, like I couldn't wait, and I'd been in talks with various people about possibly running. And it was literally that speech that she gave at TED in December 2019 that inspired me to announce.
And then she called you during the election. I mean, that was like a full circle moment.
Did you return her call? Because I'm worried about that.
Yeah, I did.
That is true.
Yeah,
we never told anybody in the film whether you called her back.
Yeah, I talked to her.
That was not she didn't lose that election so much as it was sort of stolen from her. So I guess one could argue. And I don't know if you get a chance, I don't know if you've seen All In, which is Liz Garbus and Lisa Cortez's new documentary about stealing elections, voter suppression, and as well as, but as the backdrop, it follows, and it's about Stacey Abrams and her election. So that's an important one to watch. A little plug for them. But we're going to also plug We Can't Wait, which is Lauren Ready's documentary. And it's I guess it's a short. It's in this kind of, I don't know. It's
like in that in-between phase, where it could be a short, but it could be a feature. And honestly, if we had more time, the pandemic hit in March, and we were kind of in the middle of post-production. Had we had more time, I would have gotten some more interviews to put some context to a lot of these Memphis issues that are tough for outsiders to understand or even know, about the fact that there was no debate, which is not how typically a mayoral election goes. And the fact that, everybody talks about the Black vote. We didn't even touch that conversation in the documentary. So there are a lot of like political analyst news analysis pieces. The media didn't cover much about the election. It wasn't hyped quite to the level that the other elections have been. So there's a lot of pieces of this that could have, and maybe will, develop into something more, because there's a lot more here. So we just kind of decided, let's put this one out, because Tami keeps doing more things.
And I think there's an urgency to stories like this. I think right now, I think, and I think indeed it's good that it got into it's programmed into this festival this year. But you may have, so even Tami doesn't even have to be involved. You have like maybe a feature length documentary that in the edit room.
They're in the edit room for sure. We cut out a lot of things that just didn't make sense to put in. Okay. And I would say if we had a couple more months to gather some more contextual interviews, like we interviewed her campaign manager just before we were all in lockdown, and that provided so much more context for where we were at in certain points. While we were shooting it, it was about just getting it as it's happening. And we thought, we'll go back and we'll get more context in another interview about this and this and this. And then we didn't have time, and we just thought, all right, here it is. Take it as it is.
And Commissioner Sawyer, can I call you that?
She loves that, actually.
It's hard earned. I mean,
it's hard earned, totally.
Yeah, it's earned. do you have, I don't know if you can talk about it, but do you have, I hope you have plans to run for higher office again? And I don't know if that's something you can even, you want to, discuss.
I am in a place right now where I'm trying to decide what the next 2 years look like. That's 2 years until this term I'm in is over. In 2 years, I'll finish my master's in race and gender rhetoric. My mother is ill. Like, I just have a lot going on. So I don't see, I'm kind of a little burnt out on politics, 2018 and 2019 and 2020. So I'm going to make a decision in 2021.
Okay, that's fair. Because you're needed, and you come across in the documentary as, even though obviously you're confronted with some very difficult politics of campaigning, right? And which I'm not going to touch upon in detail because I think people should go and see the movie and find out for themselves. But I think that it shows someone who's very, very good at weathering a campaign.
I'm glad you think so.
Well, I'm only seeing what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing what I'm not seeing. I don't know how much of your hair you pulled out or other people's hair you pulled out. I don't know.
I mean, you never really know, like, the load you're carrying. A friend actually told me yesterday, who was really close to the campaign, I was just kind of talking about all I have going on right now. And she said, "You're so much stronger than you think." She goes, "The way that you continue to show up over and over and over again." And I'm not good at giving myself credit for that. If you ask me, I think I'm like an emo weakling and, mad y'all see me crying in the documentary. And but, the name of my podcast, I was raised by a Southern Black woman who always told me to chuck it up and keep living. And it's kind of innate.
And we should mention she's in the documentary.
Yeah, she is. So. That's her you hear in the trailer.
I was gonna say, you talk about stuff that's left on the editing floor, but there's a whole scene from Tami's mom that provides all this context for Tami growing up and how she was raised differently and all. I mean, it's so great, but there was just not a place for it in the format of this. She's an amazing woman too, so I can see how Tami's turned into that as well.
Well, let's just quickly mention that we Can't Wait, which is going to have 2 screenings, right, at the Indie Memphis Film Festival on Thursday, October 22nd at 6:30 at the Malco Summer Drive-In, which I just did for a film festival up in this area where I live. It was a lot of fun to go to a drive-in, and it's really safe, and it's very, very I don't know, for me, somebody hasn't been to a drive-in since I was a kid, it was a lot of fun to do that. And then on Thursday, October 22nd, there'll be a virtual screening at 6:30, and folks should go to Indie Memphis to the festival's website. We'll put the links and everything for the screenings there. Thank you, guys. I want to respect your time. I know you probably have a few things going on. But
nothing,
I have
right?
permission today, so I apologize. I got my wires crossed.
Still serving. That's what she's doing.
Good. Yeah, I'm sure. And I just appreciate your meeting you. It was really fun to do this with you guys, and I wish you luck with the film and your careers, of course.
Hey, thanks for having us on, Adam. It's fun to talk about it.
Thank you, Adam.
Very much.
It was nice to meet you. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Bye,
Take
Lauren.
care. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Adam.